All right, what is up, everybody? This is another week of the Sports 2.0 Network Golf Preview Show. Despite some technical difficulties prior to the show, we've made it. We're back. Last week was an interesting week. I had a fantastic week. I almost swept the board. If it wasn't for a Ches Reavie choke fest down the stretch, I would have hit everything but the outright. But Grant's week wasn't quite as good.
No, I had it right on your back last week. Unfortunately, that's just how it happens, but that gives me just as much motivation to be good this week. So, in golf, it's unpredictable. If anybody's ever played golf, sometimes you hit good shots, sometimes you hit bad shots. I missed a lot of bets, but Abe Answer, if he wouldn't have played bad on the first day, I think that was actually a pretty good outright pick.
It was
all the way back and finished like third, which is insane for how he started. Made the cut on the number by making a putt on the 18th hole. Pretty good showing by him despite playing bad on Thursday. Other than that, I got smashed. And then the infamous 8-hole playoff that we watched between Hickok and English. Not only we didn't have either of the guys, it killed my margin bet, Justin. It was the first margin that didn't hit based on the birdie putt. So, it happens, but the best thing about those margin bets is that you got to keep betting them. You have to keep betting them week by week, or else you'll never have a chance. So we're just going to keep chugging along. 3-1 is not a bad deal. This week.
Yep. We were sitting there watching. Harris makes the big putt to go up one, force Kramer to make. He made a long par putt on 17, and then a birdie putt on 18 to go to playoff, and then it was 7 straight pars for both of them. In the first 7 holes of the playoff, they tied the record for longest playoff in PGA Tour history. It was, I guess, exciting playoff. They were all pars. Kramer, I felt so bad. He lipped out 2 birdie putts, one of which was in the center the whole way.
Right.
And the other one was about a 70-footer that caught a lot of lip.
Yeah,
but Harris English pulled it through.
Yeah, Harris got up and down from that front edge of that bunker, he
was plugged under the lip.
He was plugged in that lip, somehow got through. That was an unbelievable save by him. The crowd was chanting Kramer, which was fun to watch. He's a young kid trying to get his first win. There's a whole story about him and Sam Burns buying the wine bottles, cracking them open. Sam Burns got his win earlier this year. It kind of made sense.
But that wine's going to sit for a while.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Harris English, he's having a really good year. I think only player to have 2 wins here in 2021.
Yeah.
He's making a run up the rankings. I think that I looked. I think he was in the top, maybe 12 or top 15, which is pretty good for him.
Yeah, I think he's in top 15 for sure.
For how strong golf is right now with the top end, that's really good. And so, to be as good as he was, to have a little bit of he kind of plateaued there for a while, didn't really have a good, and then all of a sudden he's bounced back. So hopefully we can make some more money on him in the future.
Yeah. Yep. This week, Rocket Mortgage Classic. It's funny that it's a classic. This is only the 3rd time it's ever been played. 3rd time it's ever been played, but that's the name of the tournament. Rocket Mortgage Classic at Detroit Golf Club in Michigan. It's long-ish, I guess. 7,300 yards. It's not short, but it can be taken advantage of. The winners the last couple of years have been 23 and 25 under. The fairways are tight-ish, I guess, and they're tree-lined. Like you would prefer to be in the fairways, but the penalty for missing them is not that severe. And, we saw Bryson just go crazy last year with the driver. This was one of the first events where he was like, check this out with my driver, and just went off the charts with some of those drives. I think he hit one like 380, and everybody was like, oh man. And he putted like crazy. He actually lost strokes on approach last year and won this tournament purely because of driving and putting. And that's what we've seen at this tournament the first 2 years, is it is just a putting contest. If you go look at the strokes gain data from those 2 years, and you look at the top 10, all of those guys are gaining and putting. Now, obviously, you have to be good at other places, but if you're not going to putt well, you maybe could top 20, but you're not winning.
Right. Yeah, I think this is where we started to kind of get the idea about Bryson that when you hit it far, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in the fairway. We
Yeah.
kind of realized that even though he was way up there, his advantage distance wise made up for having to hit approach shots out of the rough because there were such short distances, and he's so strong he can rip it out of that grass. But yeah, just like you were saying, I have some names here. Some big hitters definitely could take advantage of this, but at the end, it just kind of turned into a putting contest, like you said. Webb, Kisner, Neiman, Sabatini, Norlander. But you guys see
Ryan Armour, Nate Lashley won this event the first year.
yeah, Tringali, who I'll talk about here in a little bit. JT Poston, a known good putter, a guy on the leaderboard, replacing the Quicken Loans week. We only have 2 years of data, but I agree just what you said. I think we can see some big hitters up there, and I think we'll see some big hitters in our betting card. But as far as finishing first or near the top, you're going to have to really perform on the green.
Yeah, and like we say every single week, predicting putting round to round, even week to week or round to round, hole to hole is so difficult. Obviously, there are certain guys who putt well most weeks, and I will be trying to pick on a few of those guys just because you kind of have a baseline for them that and this is a course where it's not demanding off the tee. You see guys like Ryan Armour, he can even get it to some fairways on tour when they're playing way back. And he was able to just put it in the fairway, hit enough greens, and let his putter do his thing. I mean, one of my big bets this week is going to be a guy who's going to do that. Just make sure that he's in the fairway, give himself as many chances as possible to let his putter do the work. But I think that there's room for lots of different types of golfers. This right. Is interesting that you look at the leaderboard and Ryan Armour finishes in the top 5, but so does Bryson. And there was 100 yards between their drives last year on most holes. So the putting thing brings the whole field into play, other than a few guys who really suck at putting.
And Wolf is right up there too. He kind of gets overshadowed by Bryson, but he was hitting it just as far, and he was performing here also. So he's a guy who fits that mold. But I think Bryson led in putting last year also. I think he was putting and off the same week, which is pretty crazy. You don't really ever see that. So it's going to take something like that putting performance to win. And I know the driver was there for him, but he was putting. It wasn't like he was average. He was good. So we're going to have to try to predict that this week. You did really well last week in a kind of a birdie fest. We're going to have another one this week. So I think we can kind of learn from that and hit some good guys this week.
Yeah, if you remember, I was testing a beta strategy for birdie fests. Approach, birdies are better gained, and opportunities gained as my 3 main indicators in a birdie fest. And it went really well. I mean, the outrights did not go well, which was interesting, but 10s and 20s and best bet, everything hit for the most part. So I will be going back to the well on that a little bit, but you got to lean a little bit towards distance, even more so towards putting, I think, this week. So my first outright is squarely in the bunter putter zone. Webb Simpson, 18-1. This is a Donald Ross course. Webb just shreds Donald Ross courses for whatever reason. The Wyndham, he has finished like second or third for like 4 years running and has a couple other top 10s. That's a Donald Ross design. Tour Championship Eastlake, he's had some really good success there. That's a Donald Ross course. And he finished 8th at this event last year. And really, he didn't even putt great. He gained 1.3 strokes putting. And Webb's just been kind of lingering. He had a 9th at the RBC, 12th at the Masters, 6th WGC. He hasn't played a ton this year. He missed the cut the US Open, but that could not be less of a Webb course. So I kind of like him getting back to a course where he has some good vibes and it fits his game more. And you kind of know what you're getting. He's going to be in the fairway. He's going to be on the greens. And if his putter cooperates, which it usually does, he's going to be in the mix.
Yeah, I like Webb. We talked about Webb pre-show. The Donald Ross thing, it's real. I mean, if you just look at the Wyndham there at Sedgefield, you'll see his finishes. They're insane. And I might probably mention him here later because I think I have him for a top 10. So I'm all in on Webb with you this week.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Neiman. He kind of burned me last week. I think he finished like 38th. We didn't get the top 10 that I wanted, which is fine. But he was playing okay. Neiman has one career win. He has all the kind of the attributes we talked about as far as what it takes to win here. Gains on approach. He gains off the tee. He can have some really big off the tee weeks. He's had those before. He's a decent putter. He's definitely above average, but he gains, right around one-ish or a little lower consistently each week, which is fine. So if we can kind of find that spike right above that, I think he'll be able to compete. The only thing we got to worry about is him chipping himself out of it. He's been known to do that every once in a while, and it's kind of hard to watch if you're coming down the stretch, in the last nine, and he has those short chips that he kind of doesn't leave. He leaves kind of scary par putts. Eventually, you miss a couple, and it really hurts you. But I think if he can really get the driver going, that'll be a big confidence booster for him because it'll give him a bunch of really easy birdie opportunities. We've all talked about that, last week too, was about the birdie opportunities. And he got top 5 here in 2019. It's the only time he's played this. He got top 5. He's going to be comfortable. I think he's looking to have a big performance because he's been just kind of average for himself lately.
Yeah, I love Neiman this week. He fills all the boxes that I'm looking for. Top 15 off the tee, approach, putting, driving distance. He's top 20 in opportunities and birdies are better gained. I don't care as much about the around the green this week. Greens reg percentage is pretty high, and the scrambling percentage is better than normal. So hopefully it's a bit easier for him to get up and down. I love Neiman, and I think I found him at 23, which is an even better number than 20.
Perfect.
My second outright is just a dart throw. The middle tier of players, there are some interesting guys, but I couldn't find anybody I really, really liked, and I'm intrigued by Matt Wolff, 33-1. He came back from a 4-month absence to finish 15th at the U.S. Open. I was kind of surprised. I bet him and I made money on that, but he gained off the tee like he always does, and he gained a bunch putting. And then he backed that up last week with a missed cut at the Travelers, losing strokes in every single category. So, but that's the Matt Wolff experience. You don't know what you're going to get, but he has the length and the iron game in him to really take advantage of a course like this. And he showed it last year. I think he finished second to Bryson. And his putting can come and go, but he's shown to be a pretty good putter, and he has the ceiling that I'm looking for in this event. His ceiling is good enough to make putts and win this tournament. And I like the fact that he had the injury, took the time to get his mind right, get his injury right, get his body right, and now he's back, and he should be all gears ahead because he got to do some work in the FedEx Cup points.
Yeah, I like this bet, especially in the outright number, because I think, like you said, that the whole Matt Wolff experience is that if he plays well, I think he's going to compete to win.
Yeah.
I love the top 10 or top 20 on him this week because if he doesn't have it, he's not going to be really up there. He's going to
right.
be near the back or even miss the cut, like you said. So I like that ceiling that we talk about. That 30, that what I would say 30. I can't remember.
33.
33 is not a bad number for the talent level that he has. Obviously, there's questions, but there's questions every week with every single outright, right? Like you get second place, you don't pay out. So we're going to take the ceiling, ride with it, 33-1 on a guy who has the same talent as a lot of guys that are priced way below him.
Yeah, it's a dart throw on a guy who definitely has winning capabilities, but I would stay away from the derivative markets on him.
Yep. I'm going to go with Cameron Tringali. I'm a sucker for Tringali bets. Tringali's looking for his first career win. I shouldn't say ever, but I don't normally go towards guys who have never won before. But he's looking for it, and I would love to be there with him when he gets it. He's got top 30s in both tries here at this course. Strokes gained, short game, right? So it includes putting and around the green, kind of chipping and getting up and down and getting all that stuff. He's first in the last 24 rounds for the entire field. So I really like that out of him. This would be a huge, huge weekend for him if he gets the win. When I look through his performances based on his strokes gained numbers, It's really when he gains off the tee. When his driver is fine and it doesn't hurt him, he performs really well because his irons are really good and he can chip and putt. So if we can find that week where his driver really performs for us, I think he'll have just as good a chance, as anybody in this price range to win because I think the rest of his game will pull through. That's just the one thing. So if we're watching him and he's hitting the fairways and he's giving himself opportunities to get into those greens, I love a 41 on Tringali because I'd love to celebrate the first win with him.
Yeah, I'm a Tringali guy too, but I like to play him in the top 20s because his win equity is just not there for me. But you could do a lot worse than Tringali at 40. There's some interesting numbers out there.
Yep.
Who do you like for a top 10 this week? This is where I think that I see the most value because of the kind of top tier of guys, and then there's just kind of a poo-poo platter of guys who really aren't in very good form below that. I think there's some value in top 10s.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of you, and we talked about this earlier this morning. I'm going to go 225 Webb Simpson, top 10. I think this is a no-brainer bet. PGA Splits, which I've mentioned before on this show, put out a putting model which had bent and POA mixed greens included
I
in
saw
it.
this.
And in Webb was number one. He was number
Yeah.
one. So that was encouraging. Like I talked about, I want to go over all the stuff that you already mentioned, but the Wyndham, which is at Sedgefield, is another Donald Ross course. Six of his last sevens, he's been in the top six of his last sevens at those courses, and then got a top 10 when he played this course the first time, right? So it obviously has a little bit of correlation to him feeling comfortable and his game kind of getting set up for a course like this. So I really like him in a top 10. 225 is a great number because winning pedigree and talent and upside for Webb Simpson is so high compared to guys this field that anything over 2 is, I think, is an immediate bet for me.
Yeah. Yep. I already talked about Webb. I love Webb. My top 10 is Jason Kokrak plus 260. I think this number has been bet a little. I think it started a little higher, but it's 260 still a really good number. He is squarely in my beta strategy from last week. That's still, I'd still going to call it in beta. We need to see it a couple more times, but he is number one in my model this week. He popped first opportunities gained, third birdies or better gained, 14th in strokes gained approach, and third in strokes gained putting over the last 36 rounds. He's top 15 in driving distance and ninth in strokes gained off the tee. He has been awesome all around, all those stats. Around the green is the only place where he struggles. Like I said earlier this week, I'm not really worried about that. It's a pretty easy scrambling course. It makes a ton of sense for him to just go out there and bomb it, make a bunch of birdies, and he's in really good form. He's got 5 top 15s in his last 8 starts, including a win. He is putting awesome. He has never putted that good until this year, and I think he is like top 15 on tour in strokes gained putting for the season, which would blow away every other finish he's ever had. But his last 5 tournaments putting are plus 2.1, plus 5.5, plus 4.2, plus 3, plus 3. He's rolling the rock super, super good, and I'm just going to ride it. And then the course sets up perfect for him.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, we may not have had many viewers that first week, but I hit Jason Kokrak for the win the first week of this show.
Did.
So I think Jason Kokrak should have a special connection to our picks. I really like it. I don't need to repeat anything. Like, he hits it really far. He can put the ball in the hole. Top. I mean, it's a great.
Yeah. And for my top 20, I'm going back to the old faithful. It has not been as good recently, but Will Zalatoris top 20 at plus 150. This sets up perfect for Zalatoris in the fact that he bombs it and hits it straight, so he should be far up in the fairway a bunch of times, and he is one of the best wedge and iron players on tour. He's number one in strokes gained tee to green over the last 36 rounds. Obviously, his putting is what holds him back. He's not a very good putter. I'm not positive he has the ceiling of putting to win this event. I kind of think if he's going to win, it's going to be one of the more difficult type courses, just because I don't know that he makes enough birdies to win an event like this, but he's definitely got the game to get to 17, 18.
Yeah,
On a course like this.
we should have mentioned at the top. You're probably going to have to make 25 to 28 birdies throughout the weekend to win. Like that's a
Yep.
birdies. So you're going to have guys, especially for outright numbers. The Zalatoris top 20s is a different than this, but the outright guys, they're going to have to get hot enough to make that many birdies.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yeah.
have to see.
I got to see a ceiling with the putter that Zalatoris just has really not shown. Maybe once or twice, but even still, he has been bad the last 5 weeks putting, but he's been awesome with his irons still. Shocker, Zalatoris really good with his irons. So plus 150 for him to do his thing that he always does, finish in the top 20. I like it.
Yeah. And I'm going to go a little bit the opposite. So you gave a 150, and I'm going to go a little higher to try to balance this out. I actually really like this, and I honestly I looked up. I had this written down and had all that research before I even looked at the number. So the number didn't even affect this. This was just more of, I knew it was going to be high, obviously, but it was just like cherry on top when I saw the 550. Vaughn Taylor top 20 plus 550. That's by far the biggest top 20 we've ever given out here on this show in the last few weeks. His approach has been good, and he missed the cut last week from bad putting, but that's fine because, like we said, we can't really predict the putting. That's just going to have to happen on its own. When I did opportunities gained on courses that where the strokes gained was easy, right? So it just it was above average for the average.
Scoring.
Vaughn Taylor, for scoring. Vaughn Taylor was number one in opportunities gained on easy courses. So I really, really like that. And then that same putting model that I mentioned earlier about the PGA splits with Webb, that had the POA and the bend mix, and it had also a bunch of it had some other speeds and proximities mixed in. Vaughn Taylor was right up there in the top 3 also. So I really like that. So if I'm going to have a little bit of need for that putter to happen, and I have that information and data to back up that putter, I think this is a great bet at plus 550. Like I said, his strokes gained, short game is good. He's always been a kind of a short game guy. It's kind of who he is. And then a little sneaky nugget here at the end is proximity 200 plus. In the field, I think it was 24 rounds. Vaughn Taylor is first. So if it says par fives, we're going to have to take advantage of to try to score on each and every round. If he can do that with those long approaches and get a good putter, I really love this bet at top 20 plus 550.
Yeah, that the odds are really good. He's a very good putter. He's been putting fantastic lately too, other than last week, really. Right. So yeah, I don't mind riding that at all. You're gonna see later. I'm riding maybe the hottest putter on earth who does absolutely nothing else in a bet later. So I'm all about riding the putters this week and take some shots on guys because it can come out of nowhere. They can just show up, feel really good with the putter, and just make everything for a week. So if there's somebody you're feeling, just take a shot because it's going to be a crapshoot.
Right. That's the best example is Kramer last week. He easily could have won. And I would say a majority of people who were watching on that television broadcast probably had no idea who Kramer Hickok was before they started watching him in that playoff.
Well, and like Bryce Garnett last week. Bryce Garnett's no offense, Bryce Garnett, if you ever watch this, you're not very good. And he just putted out of his mind. He gained like 14 strokes putting last week and finished in the top 5. There's 100 guys on tour who could show up and gain 10 strokes putting just because they are technically that good at golf that they could just get super hot. So there'll be some guys up on the leaderboard who just put their brains out. My matchup this week, I really, really struggled to find a good matchup that I liked. That mostly because I just didn't have a ton of guys that I loved in the middle of the board where a lot of the matchups were. But I found one on FanDuel, Emiliano Grillo over Gary Woodland. Grillo is really, really good in these type of events where conditions are easy and he can just kind of go out there, be good with his irons, and make a bunch of birdies. He's obviously not a great putter, but his putting has improved quite a bit over the last couple months where it's actually pretty passable. And he's got a pretty good floor at this point. He's had 2 top 20s in his last 5 starts and then had 2 more top 10s in the previous 3 starts before that. he gains on approach every single week. That gives you a pretty nice floor of, top 30, top 40. And this is not the type of course that I want to play Gary Woodland on. Gary has been wildly up and down over the last 6 months. He'll show up feeling good with his hip and finish in the top 20. And then all of a sudden he'll miss 2 cuts and finish 50th. And Gary is the type of player who plays better on difficult golf courses. The Birdie Fest doesn't make a ton of sense for him because he's not a really good putter. He's not really that great of an iron player either. He kind of gains mostly off the tee. So I like the fade of Gary with kind of the floor of Grillo.
Yeah, I like it. Obviously, Grillo burned me last week. It sucks, but
you and everybody in the DFS world.
Right. So it happens, but when you're betting golf, especially the more you bet it, is that stuff, I mean, it really doesn't matter sometimes, is that the next week be the same because the putting is so hit or miss. You have no idea how to predict it. So I like this matchup, especially going against Gary. I'm a sucker for Grillo, and I mean, if I gave him money last week, why not give him money again?
Yep.
I'm gonna go with this is kind of funny because you bet Grillo and then I'm gonna bet Doc. So we kind of flip flopped a little bit. I'm gonna go Doc.
Doc's my guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Doc over Harold Varner III at -114. Doc has 2 top 20s in his 2 attempts for the tournament. Good mix of ball striking, short game. The one thing that we just have not seen with him recently is his driver. He's not getting off approach. I'm gonna have to get over this week, and it kind of stays into when I was making my model. One thing that he really was bad at was the par for par 5. He was way far down the list, which you can see on the list of finishes that related with the driver and getting off the tee. If we can just be average this week with the driver, we just kind of hit up there and not try to go crazy. Be average with the field, I think we'll be fine. He's made 5 cuts in a row, 10 of those 5 cuts. I really like how Doc can do, and then HV3 do much for me. He's a good player and he has some good finishes, but nothing that pops. He's going to be a guy that usually makes the cut, finishes around the back end, and if he can kind of give me that cushion, I like Doc to beat him.
Yep, I'm a Doc guy. I will be betting Doc this week for sure. You're going back with the margins. Looks like +225 and +350.
Yes, 225, 350. I don't know. I considered going 2 and 3 this week because of how many birdies can be made, but there's a lot of good golfers. There's not a lot of tournaments that finish that far ahead of each other. I like 1 and 2 again. 1 week does not scare me, so I'm going right back to the well.
Yep, that's a no-brainer. I have an interesting bad golfer I'm going to bet this week. His name is Satoshi Kodaira. He is riding a putter that is quite literally scorching hot. It might actually be hot for him to pull out of his bag. He has gained, listen to this, over the last 4 weeks, he's gained 5.3 strokes putting, 5.6 strokes putting, 4.2 strokes putting, and 6.5 strokes putting. He's gained no less than 4 strokes putting over the last 4 weeks. He's gaining consistently off the tee. He's gained 6 out of 7 weeks off the tee, 4 out of his last 6 on approach. So he's kind of doing okay in those categories. He's not gaining a bunch, but his putter is just riding hot. He's got all 4 of his finishes while the putter has been hot have been inside the top 40, 3 of which were in the top 20. And his top 40 number this week is +240 on FanDuel. So I love the value, especially his putter. If he puts good again, it's only going to play up more at this tournament, considering how much putting is an influencer of this event. I'm just going to take a chance and ride that putter.
Yeah, I like it. He's been finishing well for him. I mean, it's hard to argue against a guy who just continues to sink putts. So if we can just we can jump on the train real quick and hopefully maybe ride it for a couple weeks and then jump off at the right time, that would be great.
What's your best bet this week? I think we went in a different direction, kind of.
I'm going with Sepp Straka. I'm going with Sepp Straka top 30. So I have him on the top 30. He got top 10 last week. He's been gaining on the approach the last couple. His putting at this course, strokes gained putting at this course, is way, way up there in his 2 tries that he's had. He was another player similar to Webb, where I did a Donald Ross filter, and he was really good at Donald Ross courses. He's had both attempts here at this course. He's also had top 10s, which plays into that, putting at the course thing. But a top 10 last week, a top 10 in both attempts. I like Sepp Straka. I think he'll be in a good place mentally with the Donald Ross thing. Coming in with recent course history, or good course history, recent success last week. And I think it's a good bet at top 30, because I think he'll be even higher than that.
Yeah, I like Sepp. He was featured in my article this week. I like him quite a bit. He would have been on my page here on my bets if you wouldn't have picked him. But I'm going kind of an odd route. I'm going with Mark Hubbard top 30 at plus 225. Hubbard has an interesting game. He's tall and lanky, but he doesn't hit it far. He loses strokes off the tee most weeks, but I like the fact that he'll be able to just be in the fairway and be on greens. He finished 13th last week. He's made 5 cuts in a row, so he's playing pretty good, and he's a good putter. He's gained strokes putting in 5 of his last 7 weeks. He gained 4.6 last week, and he had a really, really good finish. He was actually kind of in contention on Saturday last year. He ended up 12th. I think he played with Bryson in that final round last year, if I'm not mistaken. And he did most of it putting in on approach, which I expect him to do again this week. And top 30 numbers, not too bad, plus 225.
Yeah, I like it. When he spikes, and it's fun to watch. I have another one I want to add here real quick. Is another matchup. I have it written down. Max Homa over Keegan Bradley. I really like Max Homa this week. I know I bet him last week, and he didn't. He kind of burned me a little bit, but I think he'll do well here, and I like that matchup for him. He was 4th in my model, so it was hard to kind of go against him. I saw that matchup, and I know Keegan's hard to bet against at courses like this because he can ball strike his way through it. But Keegan is a god awful putter, so if he has a bad week, we'll win that 1,000%. And if he has a good week, then we'll compete. So we'll see.
We almost always agree on this show. I'm going to disagree with that take.
Wow.
Max Homa popped 3rd in my model, and I was like, all right, this sets up perfect for Homa. I like it. And then I start looking at Homa's finishes. He never plays well in birdie fests.
Really?
All of his good finishes are in tough events. 6th at Memorial, that was tough. 6th at Valspar. Valspar is a pretty tough course. 10th at API, pretty tough course, and he won the Genesis. Other than that, he's been missing cuts. I love Homa. I don't know why he doesn't compete in Birdie Fest because he's such a good iron player. I don't know if it's like a mindset thing, but I'm just not going to be on Homa this week, despite the fact that he popped 3rd in my model. But right. I'd want to mention a guy also, Sebastian Munoz. The model just says stay the hell away, but he shows up in stupid events like this. He actually won a stupid event like this. If you find a good number and you want to feel like being a little frisky on Thursday, take Sebastian Munoz.
Outside of Texas, that's a bold bet.
That's a bold bet outside of Texas. But all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week for the John Deere Classic, and we're only 2 weeks out from the Open Championship. So good luck on your bets this week, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.